Hey YouTube, I'm back with another commentary video, and today I'm going to be talking about how to become an impactful jungler in League. For this game, we have 9 challenger players, basically a full challenger lobby. The average LP about this in this game is around 800 to 900, and I have a pro LCS support on my team, Isles. And in this game, I go 14, 2, and 70, which basically single-handedly carry the game and illustrates the point of basically what I'm trying to make about how you can become an impactful jungler as well. I got inspired to make a video on this topic after reading the comments in my last video and how most people think that full clearing is better in lower elos compared to higher elos, but this is actually just wrong. Full clearing is much better in higher elos compared to lower elos, and I'll explain why in the rest of this video. But also, I got inspired after watching Ludwig play the game. For those of you who don't know, Ludwig is a popular YouTuber and he has around like 500 games this season, but he still sucks Silver 2 with a 52% win rate. And I think watching him made me realize why most people don't have impact while playing as a jungler in League of Legends. So after watching Ludwig, I noticed he basically does the same thing every game. He either full clears up or down and doesn't really care about what happens between the full clear. He just wants to hit his camps, and then he'll look to basically try to actually play the game. But because he's missing out on the first 30 minutes of the game, it's pretty bad. Because the enemy jungler can make a lot more impact than you in the first 3 minutes and 30 seconds. If you think about what an enemy jungler can do against a full clear jungler, there's basically 3 things they can do. One is that they can full clear themselves, and then the game will be basically neutral. You'll have the same impact as the enemy jungler, unless if they mess up their clear. But you shouldn't rely on the enemy jungler to ever mess up their clear. The other thing they can do is make a gank attempt and it fails, and this is a one case where full clearing would be better. Obviously, if a gank attempt fails and gets nothing, and like the enemy jungler dies for it, you full clearing would be having more impact than the enemy jungler making a gank and failing, because the enemy jungler is having impact in the opposite direction, right? But if the enemy jungler full clears and manages to get a gank off, then you're severely down in impact, because clearing like 4 camps and making a gank work is much better than just clearing 6 camps and then fighting afterwards. So because Ludwig basically just full clears all game, in most of his games he doesn't really get an edge on enemy jungler. He's basically relying on enemy jungler to mess up early game, which is a bit silly. And just to illustrate the point, my bot lane is double challenger and they still somehow die at 230 in the game. People make a lot of mistakes in League of Legends, and it is pretty easy to capitalize on mistakes in the early game if you're playing a jungle. For there, Poppy died, but that was a good bait by Pyke. And I make a mistake here also. I thought I could 1v1 this Ezreal, but I realized too late that I couldn't, so I ended up dying. But just looking at the amount of mistakes made so far, there's like so many mistakes that could be fixed. Like Pyke also goes in here not knowing that Ezreal has barrier and dies, and that's an LCS player. That's one of the best players in the region, right? If you're stuck full clearing in lower elos, which is an elo where people will make even more mistakes than what happens in Challenger, then you're basically praying that the enemy jungler doesn't capitalize on your laner's mistakes of being dumb and their ganks fail. Which is, in my opinion, just play on cities. Like, it's just dumb, right? You could be ganking yourself and capitalizing on a laner's mistakes, but instead you're taking the medium option out, and you're just trying to pray that the enemy jungler messes up, which is not a good recipe of being an impactful player. Sure, you might win some of your games doing that. Some enemy junglers are bad, they don't know what they're doing, they can't full clear properly, but you're never going to beat the junglers that are actually trying to play the game before the first rotation. And if they're trying to play the full game between the first rotation, they have basically a more likely chance that their ganks work because you're playing in lower elos, and because Ludwig's playing in lower elos. Like, I swear, Ludwig is currently playing Mumu, and that champion is actually pretty good at ganks. Like, he has a great CCQ. It's not as good as Nunu, but ganks definitely work. And another example, Aurora mid, enemy challenger player, dies to gank at 417, though she should probably know that I'm here. But the point I'm trying to get across is that lower elo players make a lot more mistakes than higher elo players. And even in this game, you can see that higher elo players make a ton of mistakes. So lower elo players make a ton of mistakes, but multiplied by even more mistakes. Like, There's 7 kills at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Like, it's just mistake after mistake after mistake. And if you're full clearing, you can't capitalize on any of the mistakes. A lot of people in higher elos would agree that jungler is like the most impactful role in the game. But if you're really just playing to go even at best with the enemy jungler, you're not going to be having a lot of impact. You're not going to be better than enemy jungler. You're not going to make the differences in the games that you're playing. So yeah, the reason why jungle is the highest impact role in solo queue is that junglers are basically a better version of supports that can roam wherever they want and have actual gold compared to supports. For example, top lane can do some mid roam sometimes, but you don't really see top laners roaming mid. The same thing with bot laners roaming mid. The mid lane can sometimes push and move, but it's kind of hard for them to do so. You get punished with losing a wave if you do so as a mid laner. But as a jungler, there's ways to basically make ganks happen without getting punished at all. So, an example here is that since Poppy roamed top lane, he's leaving his ADC out to dry, and because he's leaving his ADC out to dry, we crash like 2 waves on top of the edge row. I missed my snowball, which is like the worst case scenario, but he still dies, and I got 630 gold bounty, and even though Poppy basically picked up a kill top lane, he left his bot lane to die. And this doesn't really happen with the jungler as much. If the jungler goes for a gank in one lane, it's not guaranteed that he is able to like lose anything on the other side of the map, or even lose their camps, because their camps could be down. If I do my Red Raptor scrum pathing that I do most of the time, if the enemy jungler tries to invade my top side, they will only find one camp, the Kraus camp, and invading for one camp is pretty bad. On the other hand, if the enemy jungler tries to invade me on the bot side, they'll find me doing the camps, and then they'll have to fight me while doing the camps. And by that time, my laner should have prio and collapse onto them. So yeah. In this game, I'm 3-1-0, but if I just went ahead with my original plan of just full clearing this game, we probably would be like 7-1 right now. We would be down 6 kills, and we really wouldn't have a hope to basically win this game. Like, the only hope of us winning this game comes from me not just full clearing every game. One thing that I noticed that I said I was going to talk about at the beginning of this video is that a lot of people think that full clearing is better in lower elos compared to higher elos, but this is just plainly not true. Like, Gurren it works in Challenger by full clearing and is pretty successful, but like, if you're full clearing in lower elos, it's just you're preying on the enemy jungler not to be able to capitalize on your mistake, right? If you're full clearing in lower elos, then you're just ignoring the fact that laners are not the best players and will make tons of mistakes themselves, and you're basically not capitalizing to the best of your ability, right? The reason why full clearing is better in higher elos is because laners are more disciplined and they'll typically avoid ganks better than lower elo players. And because they avoid ganks more than lower elo players, there's a higher chance that an enemy jungler's ganks won't work, right? Sometimes they do work, like in this game. I don't know if I get the kill here. I think I pressed R because I was scared that he would jump. But if I knew that he didn't have jump, I wouldn't have pressed R. But like, I have 4 KP. I have 4 out of 5 of my team's KP. And yeah, I think at this point in the game, if I press tab, you'll see the enemy jungler has like, he has 1 KP and they have 10 kills, right? So, I have more impact than enemy jungler right now. But my team is kind of just throwing the game away. And if I was not ganking on repeat, I would be in a much worse situation. So yeah, if you want to be an impactful jungler in solo queue, you should at least try to think about ganking. Don't fall into the same pattern every game, right? Just because you full clear one game, or just because you gank a lot in one game, doesn't mean that you should do the same thing the other game, right? Every League of Legends game is different. There's different champions, there's different players. You can be in different elos, blah blah blah. Whatever works in silver might not work in gold. Whatever works in like diamond might be really bad in Challenger. And that's what, in my opinion, full clearing is. Full clearing is something that is pretty alright to do in Challenger, but if you're in lower elos, it's pretty, at least mediocre to do, right? I wouldn't outright say it's like a horrible play, but I would pretty much say that every time you full clear first rotation, you're just flipping a coin at the start of the game and praying the coin lands on heads and that you come out early game ahead by your team doing well. But if you don't have any impact over your team's early game, you're wasting the impact that the jungle role really has. I don't know why I go for this. I think I just try to clear the minions here. I get chunked out a lot, but it's okay because Ezreal can't kill me. And I think at this point I can back for Leandries, but Poppy, another mistake. Poppy just goes into me for some reason and just dies. And I think Ezreal pays for it. Does Ezreal pay for their sins as well? Yeah. Oh? That's another big mistake. I don't know why I flashed her. But yeah. I'm doing pretty well this game. 4-1-3. As you can see, I've been ganking a lot, but surprisingly, I don't think I'm down much CS compared to enemy jungler. Which is also a thing that people believe. People believe that if you don't just full clear every rotation, you'll just fall behind in CS. But like, looking at it now, I think if I press tab now, I would see the enemy jungler has 12 treats on his jungle camps, and I'm about to get 13 treats. So she's only up 1 camp on me, even though I've been ganking like 10 times more. The truth is, as a jungler, you have so much free time on your hands. Like, full clearing does not take up all of the time as a jungler, right? If you full clear, you end by like 330, you can do the skull crab, you end by like 350. But if you end by 350, then you still have like what? Like a solid 30 seconds before the next rotation of the fights happen. Getting the 6 scrub is pretty important. 6 scrub, if you can die for the 6 scrub, I would do it, even if I'm this far ahead, because 6 scrub is such a broken objective. But yeah. Overall, what I'm trying to say is that the more you gank, the more you basically can try to capitalize on people's mistakes, and even if your ganks fail, you shouldn't be in a spot where you're down that much CS. I think in most games, I'm down like at most 4 camps on CS, even if I gank like literally 10 times more. Here's another gank ball lane. Luckily, I've been bringing Aftershock so that R doesn't do as much damage as me, and I'm basically managed to pick up another kill. And even though my team's behind right now, I'm feeling confident in myself. I have 10 Dark Seal stacks, I can buy Medjais anytime I want, and the enemy jungler is 1 level behind me, even though I've been full clearing all game. And I think at this point, after I steal the skull from her, I'm even up in CS. Or, I don't know. I'm pretty close in CS with the enemy jungler. Even the only thing I've been doing is, or the majority of the time, I've been hitting the enemies more than the enemy jungler hits his caps. And you can do this in lower elos as well. In fact, I would bet you that junglers in lower elo are farming less efficiently than junglers in high elo. So, even if you waste a lot of time ganking like me, junglers have too much extra time on their hands that they will never be truly down in like CS. As long as you don't like just spam gank every single timer and actually pay attention to some of your like camps sometimes, right? I'm not telling you to just like, oh, never hit camps, just gank them. I obviously hit camps a lot. My average CS per minute is like 6.1, which is pretty good in my opinion, but I'm trying to tell you that just because you have like 8 CS per minute, or just because you're aiming for 8 CS per minute, or just because you're aiming for 9 CS per minute, doesn't mean that you're having a lot of impact on the game. Impact on the game comes from generating leads. And as a full clearer, you're not really generating leads as much as you could be by just capitalizing on people's mistakes. But yeah. So far in this game, I have 2k gold in my inventory. I probably should base, but surprisingly, Nunu's one of those champions that it doesn't really matter how much gold is in your inventory. You're not that weak, even if you don't have a lot of... You're not that weak. Items are a core part of Nunu's strength, but they aren't as important as you would think on other champions, right? And that kind of brings me into another point that people brought up. People think that only Nunu can do this playstyle. And while I agree that Nunu is probably one of the best champions to do these playstyles, like, it's more often than not that there's a lot of champions that can do this playstyle of ganking a lot versus a lot of champions that can't, right? In my opinion, if you're playing like Kindred, if you're playing like Karthus, or if you're playing like Shyvana, by the way, never play Shyvana, that champion is so bad. But if you're playing like a champion whose only goal it is to farm, like Karthus, you probably shouldn't be doing what I'm saying. But honestly, like, those champions are far less than the actual champions that can gank, right? Kindred can gank, Viego can gank. Those are two of the most popular junglers in the game. Gwen can't really gank as an enemy jungler, which is fine, but like, I think there's so many junglers that can gank that people just don't try to gank on, right? Viego's ganks are not that bad. He has a stun, he can come from stealth, he can disturb the lane a lot. If you're playing Kindred or Graves, Graves doesn't have any CC, but he has smokescreen, and even if you don't get your gank to work, you can burn their conditions a lot, and if you burn a flash, or like their HP, it's not only good for your laners, but allows you to like re-gank, right? And if you re-gank the lane that has no flash or that has low HP, your next gank is much more likely to work than your first gank. So your first gank is kind of setting up for your second gank, and even if your second gank doesn't work, it's basically set up for your third ganks. And flash comes up once every 5 minutes, like maybe 4 minutes and like 30 seconds to give a cosmic insight, but it basically allows you to make your future ganks work, right? Suppose that you only gank once and they burn flash, right? That's pretty sad. You don't get anything. I don't know why it's harder, but you don't get anything and you basically waste your time. But what happens when you burn flash in the first gank and then in the second gank, they don't have flash? What happens most likely is that they die, right? And if they die, that's where you're starting to actually get resources and impacting the game. If they die, you're putting your laner ahead. If you get the kill, you're putting yourself ahead a lot. Like 1 kill is worth like 3 camps of gold. It isn't worth as much XP, but the enemy laner is also losing a lot, right? So in my mind, I would think as getting a kill for myself compared to enemy jungler being equivalent to basically taking 2.5 camps up on them. And yeah, I sat my Medrise by now because I realized, wow, the rest of my team isn't doing anything. And I might be able to carry if I just stack my Medrise up this game, which I think is what I do. I'm grateful for the Pyke not taking the kill and letting me get it with Medrise instead. So that means I get 4 Medrise stacks instead of 2. But even though I have like 11 out of 14 of my team's kill participation, this game is still not very easy. The enemy Gwen is 2-0, 0-0, which is a good scoring line, right? But the enemy Gwen is playing a full clearing style, and his team is like so much better in laning phase than mine. But he's still like not as impactful as me. And he is stuck in a point where like he's almost similar farm as me, similar gold as me as well. I probably am ahead in gold because my ganks work. But yeah, I'm down 19 CS in total, which isn't a big deal in my opinion, considering I'm up 5 kills and 4 assists. And keep in mind, if you're up kills as well, it's most likely that your team benefits as well. And because I'm like so far ahead in my kills, I managed to one-shot this Poppy with Medrise, kill the Gwen, taking her shutdown, and at the same time, my Medrise just got 8 stacks. I just got 40 AP, which basically puts me in a much better position to carry this game. Nara, for some reason, TP's mid here. I think they wanted to contest Dragon, but I think they decided not to because they don't even come, so Nara just wastes TP for no apparent reason, question mark. I don't know why. Sometimes people are like that. But again, nice snowball onto the Ezreal here. I don't think I can kill this Ezreal. I missed my E onto Aurora, unfortunately, but our team's winning the fight now because they're ahead, and I think I get my 25th stack on the Aurora. And yeah, the game's in a nice spot now, 10-1-5, and I can basically do whatever I want, and it basically would work. So around this point in the game, I would say that I would have like the enemy jungler has had no impact on the game so far. He got 2 nice kills, which is a bit of impact to be fair, but it's like, what has he been doing now? Like, actually this might work. I forgot if this works or not, but I don't... Oh, actually, does it work? He does get the guy, and he is a bit stronger than me, but luckily Pyke comes and we can 2v1, and Nunu's broken in the fact that he could just press Q and heal off the wave. I don't know why Pyke waited before pressing R there. I think if he didn't wait, he would not get hit by a second tower shot, but it's whatever, it happens. But yeah, another tip for becoming an impactful jungler early game is that you should think about what the enemy is thinking about, right? League of Legends is kind of a mind game in that way. There is one way that most people play like. It might be harder in lower elos to think about what the enemy is playing like, but in higher elos it's definitely possible to basically be like, oh, I think the enemy jungler is going to path down bot and be there at like 3:30 in the game and contest bot scuttle, right? That's the line of thinking that you want, and you want to basically predict what you should do if that happens. If the enemy is, if you know the enemy, or if you think the enemy is going to be bot side at 3:30, what I do in many of the cases, right, is that although I might not be stronger to fight the enemy Gwen early game straight up as Skullcrab, Nunu almost loses every 1v1 in the game. I'm basically strong enough to gank my lanes, sacrificing one camp before 3:30, or sacrificing 1 or 2 camps worth of temple before 3:30, because of my gank. Either A, the enemy laners die and I get prio, which is great for me, it's a good outcome, or B, the enemy laners don't die, but most of the time I get it so that I basically get prio onto my lane, right? And if you get prio onto your lane, it's much easier for you to take the objective compared even if you aren't better at fighting early game. Because the enemy bot laner would be behind in resources and tempo compared to your bot laners, and if they're behind in resources and tempo compared to your bot laners, then they'll not want to come help the Gwen for the Skull Crab. And because they don't help the Gwen from the Skull Crab, because you're down like one camp from ganking early, you'll basically be able to recover that one camp in the Skull Crab, right? So you're basically trading prio on your laners. You're basically giving your laners prio so they can help you as well. League of Legends is a team game, and although it may not feel like a team game sometimes because everybody flames and types in chat, having 2 bodies is much greater than 1. I don't know why I started Baron here. I think I just wanted to fight. Poppy is really the only one killable here because Ezreal has R, but they're doing quite a bit of damage to me, so I have to run away. Yone gets TPs and gets a good fight, but now they're low and wasted a lot of their ultimate. So now's the point where I think it would be a good choice to start Dragon because their team has nothing. Our team doesn't have any ultimates as well, but it looks like they're winning the fight there. And yeah, basically a free Baron here because I burned their spells beforehand. The enemy Nara tries to TP bot lane to get a turret for compensation, which is honestly smart. Like, what this Nard is doing looks really int, but it's actually really smart because he gets like 500 gold on a tower for free because he knows that we're stuck on Baron. I buy a pot here because I think the next fight, which is going to be the dragon fight, is basically very important because it's the soul for us. And I want to be strong for that fight. I couldn't buy Jack Show in time. I think I didn't have enough gold, but yeah, this spikes me a lot before the fight. And Dragon Souls will basically, at least Hextech Dragon Souls will be a pretty good indicator that you'll win the game. I think with the Dragon Soul, the win rate of a team is like 70-80% or something like that. But yeah, I don't get this camp unfortunately. Poppy flashes E's on me, but I'm just like, can they even kill me here? And the answer is no, they can't. And because I'm Nunu, most broken champion in the game, 817 healing on minion. Aurora also wastes her ult on me, but I still have R. Unfortunately, Nara gets me, but because they're sending 2 people to try and fight for me, they lose the opposite side of the fight. Which happens, and all I have to do, I'm desperately trying to heal off a minion. I think on Nunu, I would be able to heal off like 600 on both Qs. I missed my snowball here, unfortunately, but I managed to Q smite the dragon, or the skull crab. Ezreal has nowhere to run because he's being flanked by Yone, and Nar basically dies. And at this point in the game, barring Miracle, they should really just FF the game. Even though we don't have much towers because we don't have 6 scrubs, we are just so much further ahead with the Hextech Soul that's basically irrecoverable. Like, in my opinion, Hextech Soul is adding like 5,000 gold worth of stats onto your team, at least. It probably is more. And yeah, basically punishing Gwen for all her jungle, all her folk clearing early game doesn't matter, because she cannot take the jungle in the mid game because her team is way too far behind compared to me. Although Gwen can 1v1 me anytime she wants, She can't 1v1 my team. My team is able to stand up for me. She is trapped in a state of hell where she can't farm anything. And I just managed to solo kill her there. Yeah. Yeah, but this illustrates that if you get your team ahead early game, it's much easier for your team to keep the lead than you trying to like regain the lead yourself, you know? Even though in the early game she has had a bit more camps than me, I basically get 2 jungles to farm now because my team is ahead. I get the enemy jungle to farm, and I get my jungle to farm, which would put me ahead, and Gwen is basically stuck not knowing what to do because her camps are getting taken on repeat. She's a bit too weak to fight, although she's probably stronger than some members of my team. Like probably stronger than Smolder and Cassiopeia 1v1. She can't really fight them because I can snowball on her anytime. And all her camps are being taken. I'm not too sure. Like she's probably farmed not a lot within the last few games. And I don't even know how this random edge roll R hits me. I think I got confused about how this hits me. But yeah. Gwen running around like a headless chicken, not knowing what to do. All her impact is gone. It's really hard for Gwen to make impact now that she's behind that much. But I'm able to make a lot of impact. I'm able to get a level lead on her. I'm able to start taking more camps on her. I'm able to do all of this. But it all essentially comes down to the fact that my team is ahead because I've been ganking them non-stop over and over again. Cassiopeia entered here, I think. I think she dies. There's no way she lives. Which is fine. That happens. I'm still ahead. Gwen still has no camps to take. A full jungle is worth like 600 gold, and she got like 1 kill, which didn't have a shutdown, I think, so it's worth around 300 gold. But yeah, I don't know why we're fighting there. I think this is a dumb idea. I'm running away, but then I think I can turn with the R because my R is like really strong, and she just disappears. Cassiopeia is not alive, but we're so strong, I don't think it matters. I might die here, unfortunately, losing my stacks, but you know what? Throws happen. Even if we throw, we still have Hexexo, which isn't bad. I think Yone TP'd into a bad spot. I have no idea how he got here. Oh yeah, I remember. Yone gets destroyed by Gnar. Pyke is inting. We're inting a bit, but hey. Another key part about being an impactful player is don't die. It's easier said than done, but dying wastes so much of your tempo. I don't know what the enemy Ezreal is doing, honestly. I think that's a pro player as well. Who knows? But yeah, if you're dead, for example, right now, I lose 10 of my Magi stacks, so I lose 50 of my AP, and I basically have nothing to do for 20 seconds. Or not 20 seconds. I think my death timer was around 40 seconds. But yeah. I'm 2 levels on enemy Gwen now, which is kind of crazy. Like, I'm the highest level on my team, even though I wasn't trying to basically farm, right? What I'm trying to say is that ganks can transition into leads later on in the game. Although you're not stronger immediately after you gank someone, your teammates will become stronger. And because your teammates will be stronger and they'll be much more appreciative of you, you're able to gank their lanes for better conditions. Aurora is dead here. Like she pressed R, which probably had nothing else to do. I think this is kind of scuffed. Aurora really has a lot of movement speed, but she can't really escape me. I would have liked to get the stacks there, but it happens sometimes. I think there's a fight going on here. I noticed she recalled, but Poppy Afterburn Flash. And yeah, this game is taking a bit long to close out, but if you notice, we've been slowly gaining a lead. We've taken out outer towers now, and we're just really trying to break the inhib towers, which is actually quite hard to do. Most of the time, you need Baron to break inhib towers, which is why we're doing Baron. It's hard for our comp to just siege without Baron. Baron makes it so that minions don't die as fast. And the enemy team is doing the correct play here, which is let's try to push mid. But yeah, I don't think it works out too well for them because they don't get anything mid, but they have nothing better to do. Enemy red is up in 6 seconds. I can already tell myself wanting it. This is a very weird R from Gnar here. I think they almost managed to kill me by half flash up, so Gwen just wasted her entire kit on me while getting up in it. And that was totally calculated. I was not scared for my life. But because we fought this, you can see Elder Dragon spawning 33 seconds inside of the game, so this secures this Elder as long as I can hit the Q smite, which if I can't hit the Q smite, it's very scuffed. I'm kind of scared to kill Gwen here because she has, although like I'm up an entire item and a Magi's, I'm only up a Nectron Cloak. Okay, I'm basically up like 1/2 items because 23 stacks Magi's is basically 1/2 items. But yeah, even though I'm up that much, you can't 1v1 Gwen. I can just secure this Elder and win the game. Why take the risk of trying to kill the Gwen myself, you know? There's not much point. The enemy team makes a mistake here. I really think they should contest this because if we get this, it's the same thing as breaking open the doors because how are they supposed to defend? Baron plus Elder plus Hex Soul. Their Poppy dies for a cherry on top. And oh yeah, if you're ever in this spot, the only thing you have to do is to basically run down mid. And I say it myself, ARAM. I'm tired of this game. I think it should be ended. I'm 13-2-17. We should have won this game right now, but unfortunately, we've made some mistakes. My team weren't the best. Any fight is good here with Elder. Basically, I'm just waiting for my teammates to come. Gnar ease in for some reason. I don't think it matters. I think he's just tilted. Yeah. I don't know why my Cassiopeia said that we couldn't silane against, or we couldn't ARAM against Ezra Aurora, considering we have Baron Elder, but hey, people's understanding of macro is pretty bad. But yeah. I think that's the end of this game. We managed to take out the inhibs, and they have 3 people dead, and we have Baron Elder, so they can't live. But yeah, to summarize the points I made in this video, you should try to make impact in this game. In order to become an impactful jungler, you should try to gank more early game, and just capitalize on other people's mistakes. But yeah, thanks for watching. Follow my Twitch if you haven't. I'm live pretty often. I'll be doing a start of season climb in around 2 days or so. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you next time.